This conference will now
Hi,
be
Anand.
recorded.
Welcome to the next session on SAP ABAP interfaces. In the interfaces, we have discussed RFC and BAPI, and also exposed RFC as an web service. And also in BAPI, we have seen the BAPI extensions as well. Okay, so today we are going to start the ALE IDocs, and we have seen the disadvantages of the RFC and BAPI. So let's take an example of what is the disadvantage of RFC and BAPI. So we cannot track the data which is coming in, and we cannot monitor the data, and also we cannot reprocess the data, and we cannot debug the database. So, and also if system hangs, the external system has to wait until the system is up. To get all above features, that means we can track the data, we can monitor the data, the interfacing data, we can reprocess the data if any error, and also we can debug the data by using ALE and IDocs. So what exactly the ALE and IDocs we are going to see from today, and here you can see ALE and IDocs. So ALE stands for application linking and enabling. Application linking and enabling. It's an ALE case. And IDoc is an intermediate document. So ALE stands for application linking and enabling, and IDoc stands for it's an intermediate document. Okay, so what exactly the IDoc and what are the concepts we have in the IDoc which we are going to see in today's class? And already you know the even the early IDoc is one of the interfacing concept. Same way, so if you want to transfer the data between two systems, you must have a connection. The SL59 is the connection between the two systems, the RFC destination. Even if you want to send the IDoc also, you need to have an RFC destination. So it's an ALE is an application linking and enabling, and also it is a cross application tool, and it's cross application tool. It's a cross application tool, and which is used to transfer the data between SAP to SAP and SAP to non-SAP. We can use the ALE concept. With this concept, we can transfer the data from SAP to SAP as well as SAP to the non-SAP. And IDoc is an intermediate document, and it contains and it is a data container. It is a data container. Okay. So what exactly the data container and what is the IDoc which we are going to use in today's class? So let's take an example of. So we have two systems. Okay, this is one system, SAP. It's in a source system, and we have, let's say I will use another system as well. That is also an SAP system. Okay, it's a target system. It's a target system. One is the source system, and another one is the target system. So always the source system we call it an outbound. So the source means the data which you are sending. The sending system we call it an outbound system. So if you send some data from SAP to any system, that we call it an outbound system. Outbound means we are sending the data from this system. Suppose if you are receiving the data, we call it an inbound system. So anything you receive from any external system, we call it an inbound system. So outbound system and inbound system. So if you want to transfer the data, so if you want to transfer the data from here to here, and you must have an RFC connection, that is sure. Okay, the RFC connection is must. RFC destination. The RFC connection is nothing but here an RFC destination. RFC destination. And if you want to send the data will be sent by using a carrier or it's in a container. So I can say it's in a container. Control C. So this is in a container. Okay, this container I call in this concept. The container over here is in a IDoc. IDoc is in a data container. So it carries the data, it transfers the data from source system to the target system. So IDoc works like in a container and it's in a data container. So here it's an intermediate document, it is in a data container. So what is the IDoc and what is the IDoc structure? We are going to see now. And the IDoc contains IDoc contains three records. Okay, three records contains. One is the control record, and another one is the data record, and another one is the data set. So IDoc contains three types of records. One is the control records, and which contains the source and target system details, and also it gives the communication details. So what is the source system? What is the target system? And what is the communication between the two systems? That's in a control. You understand the name itself. So it's in a control system. Controlled record will be stored in the control record, and the data will be stored in DB table called EDI-DC. So EDI-DC, and if any IDoc, so the IDoc data, the control record data will be stored in the EDI-DC database table, and data record which contains the actual data, the business data, contains the business data, contains the actual business data. Contains the actual business data, and which is referenced with IDoc type, which is referenced with the IDoc type. Okay, let's say example is, so we have an internal table. Okay, so if you want to save the data in internal table, definitely there should be a reference for the internal table, like types or database table or structure or table type. We are going to reference with the structure, we are going to reference with the table type, or we are going to reference with the types. Even here also, the data record contains the actual data. So if you want to store the data in the data record, we must have a reference. The reference is an IDoc type. IDoc type is a reference type for your data record. And the data record will be stored. The data record will be stored in DB table called EDID 4 days. EDI D4. This is the database table, and this data record will be stored in the database called EDI D4. Then the status record, and which stores the status of IDoc. What is the status? Suppose let's take an example. We have source system, we target system. Suppose, so there are different statuses. So let's take an example of we triggered an IDoc from SAP system. So when the IDoc is triggered, so it gives an status. Okay, IDoc is generated. Okay, that is an one status. So then the IDoc is posted to the target system. So there is an each status, everything there is a status. Suppose if there is an error, the error status, everything, the status records will be stored in the status record, and which stores the status of an IDoc, and the status are stored in DB table called EDIDS. EDIDS. These are all the control record and data record and status record. This is an IDoc structure base. IDoc structure contains three records. One is the control record, data record, and status record. Simple. So let's take an example of this is my IDoc. Okay, this is my IDoc, and this contains one control record, and it contains the data record, and it contains the status. Contains the status. That's it. So it contains the status. This is my IDoc. This IDoc structure contains control record, data record, and status. So to build an IDoc base, so there are different steps which are required. So and also there are different kind of communication details which are required. Maybe first we are going to generate some IDocs. So maybe new slide, and so there are some other parameters which we need to know in the IDoc type. So one is the message type, and which provides a unique identity of the application, unique identity for the business application. So this is also one of the things which is required, message type, and also we have IDoc type. IDoc is different, IDoc type is different. IDoc contains the actual data, and IDoc type it is a reference to the IDoc data record. It is a reference to the IDoc data record. But where do we create these message types? Where do we create these IDoc types? Okay, so control B. The message types will be created in the transaction code. There are a lot of transaction codes based in ALE and IDocs. So T code to create a message type is WE81. Almost the IDocs, the transaction code starts with the WE base. W is the prefix. And also the IDoc type we are going to create in the transaction called WE30. WE30 is a transaction code for the IDoc type. So typically how the IDoc type look like. So let's take an example of this is my IDoc type. This is my IDoc type. And IDoc type is it contains a group of segments, reference, and it is group of segments. Group of segments. And what is segment? Segment is a group of fields, and segment contains the fields. So IDoc type is a reference to the IDoc data record, and it is in a group of segments, and segment is in a group of fields. And in segment, each segment you will be having group of fields, and the transaction code is so to create an IDoc type, the transaction code is WE30. And to create a segments, the transaction code is WE30. Okay, so this is a message type, and this is an IDoc type, and this is a segment. Okay, so typically the structure look like this. So IDoc type, and IDoc type contains the different segments. Let's say so I can say this is from segment 1, segment 1, and each segment will have the fields. So this will be having, let's take an example of field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, so on, field n. So this segment will have fields, group of fields, maybe. So IDoc type is in a group of segments. I can say not only one segment, I can have one more segment, segment 2, and maybe in this segment I have different fields. See, in this segment we have different fields, and also we have third segment and segment 3, and this fields will have a different fields. This fields will have so IDoc type is a reference to the data record of an IDoc, and which contains a group of segments, and each segment will have a group of field space. So where do you create the IDoc type? The transaction code is the WE30, and to create a segment, the transaction code is the WE31 base. So maybe I will show some of the examples, standard IDoc and these things, then you will get to know what exactly the IDoc is. Maybe I'll go to the system. First, we need to find out the standard things first, then I will take it to the custom. So standard is important first. So SAP is a product. You will be having ready-made things. For everything, there is a ready-made applications. Okay, SAP user, welcome 1, 2, 3. And okay. So WE, first I will go to the message type, WE81, go to the message types, and see there are different kind of message types we have, and we need to look based on the description. We need to find out this. See, create invoice and create new orders. There are different kind of message types, and don't take whatever it is there. Don't take the slash starting with slash, and you can see here the message types. So you will be having CRE. Did you see any CRE? CR sequence. Yeah. So if you see this, what is this? Vendor master distribution. Suppose if you want to transfer the vendor data, we are going to use a CREMAS as a message type. So CREMAS. So message type provides a unique identity for your application. So this is the vendor master is an application. So here CREMAS is a message type. So maybe let's take in some of the examples. Message types. One is the CREMAS. So what is this? It's a vendor master. So this is the message type for the vendor master. Okay. Then I go to the ABCD. See guys, there is a name. What is this? Customer master data distribution. So if you want to transfer the customer master data, we are going to use a debmas. Customer master. Next, I'll go to the, let's take an example, master data. What is the next one more master data we have? Customer master data, vendor master data. What is the next master data we know? What is master data first? Hmm? Rarely? Rarely change data is a master data. So material master also. M. We'll go to the M. See guys, MAT, MES, which is a material master database. MAT, MES. This is a material master data. So I'll add more details over here, and maybe we'll go to the orders, sales orders. Let's take an example. O orders. O A B C D F G H M N O P Q L R I L M N O. In a O, you can see there is an orders related stuff. OR. See, this is the orders. So this can be used for the sales order as well as a purchase order. Order S. Order. This can be used for the purchase order or sales. So orders is a master data or transactional data. Order is a master data or transactional data. Transactional. So order change. This is also purchase order or order change. That is for the create. This is for the change. And also order SP. And also we go for the deliveries case, DEL. I think delivery also in the transactional data delivery. D starts with the D. A B C B C D. So debit debmas somewhere you can see delivery processing telecom something is see guys. So this is the delivery guys. DESADV delivery shipping notification. So DESADV because I'm going to use this in the future delivery or shipping. So this is the message type. Okay, and invoice I A B C D F G H. There are HR related stuff also there. I it should be invoice only. See, invoice and billing down. This is the message type for them. So it's an invoice. Billing, both are same. Okay, these are the some of the. This is enough ways. So normally we are going to use this as an IDocs. Okay, in any company, if you go, definitely you see with this information with the IDoc implementations, order or delivery or shipping or invoices. So and also material master data is also important. So pre-mass, debmas, and PATMAS. Okay. In the same way, the IDoc type also we have the transaction WE30, and here we are going to find the existing IDoc types, and maybe I can take this. So IDoc type, the transaction code is WE30, and go to the WE30. WE. So actually we can build the IDoc types in the WE30, but if you want to see the message type, suppose there is a cremas is a message type. If you want to see the IDoc type for the message type, the link between the message type to the IDoc type, the transaction code is WE82 base. Link, guys, in IDocs, everything, the questions are transaction codes only. The transaction codes are very, very important in the IDocs. Link between message type to IDoc type. Okay, the transaction code is WE82. That means if I know the message type for an application, I can easily find out the IDoc type for that application. So if you go to the W82, so there is a link between message type to the IDoc type. So I'll go to the WE82. So here, this is my thing. Maybe you can see message type and basic type means it's an IDoc type. Basic type means it's an IDoc type. So if I know the message type, I can fetch the IDoc type. So maybe go to the position. So my message type is, let's take an example of cremas. So this is the message type for the vendor. Enter. See guys, so there is an IDoc type for the message type. So maybe always you have to take the recent release days, because they started with this one version, so that they keep on adding the new fields actually. So my latest version always is this case. So what is the latest version? So you need to take the latest version. Cremas 06 is the latest version. So this is the IDoc type for the vendor master. So Cremas, so always Cremas 06. Okay, this is a vendor master IDoc. It's an IDoc type. In the same way, position MAT, MAS, it's a material master. And see guys, material master 05 is the material master IDoc. Material master. Next one is the dev master. It's a customer master. So take the dev master 07 is the customer master. So here I am showing how to find out this. Okay, very, very important. This is WE82. And next one is, so we have some kind of orders, right? So order ORDERS, ORDERS, orders. See, there is an order 05 is an order 05. So this is the purchase of sale. Then we have delivery DESADB. See, this is the delivery. The delivery is, this is the one is delivery 07. Delivery. And invoice. What is the invoice? INVIOC. That's it. Invoice. And invoice, I think this is the one. Don't use this. So sequence is important. Invoice 02. This is an invoice IDoc. So normally this is a linkage between the message type to the IDoc type. Even if you build the custom one also, you need to assign these steps. So you need to create a message type, you need to create an IDoc type, and you need to provide a link between the message type to the IDoc type. These steps are mandatory. And now I go to one of the IDoc type. I will show you the what exactly the IDoc type, and go to the transaction. Now, where do you build the IDoc types? WE30, and provide the IDoc type. So not this one. Take MAT, MAS 05. Yeah. So first, this is a basic thing, an extension. You already know, right? What is extension? So BAPI extension, what we did in the BAPI extension, not new fields, custom fields. Here also same ways. This is my standard IDoc. If I want to add custom, I will go with the extension. But this is in the standard, I will go with the basic type and go with the display. This is my IDoc type, guys. So what I told, what is the definition of the IDoc type which I have given? So it is in a reference to the IDoc data record. It is in a group of segments. So go with here. See guys, this is the segments. Always the segment starts with the even ways. Standard segment starts with the even. See, this is the even MARAM. So it's in a group of segments. You see, this is in one segment. This is in a one segment. And also expand this. See guys, you have more segments. This is one segment. 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 So based on the database table data, they have defined into the different segments. So all MARA details, if you see, all the MARA details will be stored in this segment. All the MAKT, the material descriptions will be stored in this segment. Suppose if you want to send the material description, and all the plant details, material plant, you know the table MARC. So all the MARC details will be stored in this segment. All the MARM table will be stored in this segment. All the MARM, MART also will be there. And see, so there are different kind of data which we have in the material master. And so IDoc type is in a group of segments, and also each segment will have a group of fields. And where do you see the segments? So the transaction code is the WE31. So very important. The transaction codes is the, see guys, there are different kind of in this segment. Even the segment contains the child segment. See, this is my main segment. This contains this child segment. And go to the, here also you need to see the latest version. So what is the latest version over here? This is my latest version. See, this contains, the segment contains the group of fields. See, material number, all the MARA fields you can expect over here. Maybe I go to the MARA table, SE11 and MARA, and you can see the MARA details. MARA. See, MADNR, MADNR, okay, ERSDA, ERSDA, ERNAM, ERNAM, okay, LVORM, LVORM, material type. See, so each segment is in a group of fields. Okay, so if you want to send the data will be passed or mapped to the segment field. So this is my segment, the field over here, the segment field, which is in a reference to the, so here I can say this is an IDoc type. IDoc type is as in a reference to your data record of an IDoc. So that's the some of the concepts behind segment, link between the message type to the IDoc type and IDoc type, and we have a different kind of IDoc types and we have a different kind of message types. So this is the theory, and IDoc type is a reference to the data record of an IDoc, and it contains the group of segments, and segment is in a group of fields. That's an IDoc type, and you must remember the transaction code. There is no shortcut at all, so you have to remember the transaction codes in the IDocs. And IDoc is a structure. IDoc structure contains three records: one is control record, data record, and status record. And control record means it provides, see, IDoc is used to transfer the data between different systems, SAP to SAP or SAP to non-SAP. And we have outbound system, we have inbound system. The data will be carried by using IDoc. IDoc is a data container, and it's an intermediate document. And so how can you generate the IDocs then? So we have the information. How do you generate an IDoc? So if you want to generate an IDoc, there are three techniques. So to trigger the IDocs, how to trigger the IDocs? How to trigger the IDocs? So very important. So one is the standard program. The second one is change pointers, and the third one is message control. So there are three ways to trigger an IDoc. Suppose if you want to, IDoc is an automation concept. So data integration automation concept. Let's take an example of, I have created one material immediately that material should go to the next system. No need to do any action, anything. System automatically sends. If you do the IDoc integration, automatically whenever I create the material in MM01, immediately it goes to the next system, the target system. So it's an automation concept. So we can do the automation. We can generate the IDocs by using standard programs and change pointers and message control. So what are the standard programs which you have? We'll see later, but I'm going to, and also standard programs we are going to use to trigger the master data IDocs. We use the normally when we use standard programs, when we use change pointers, when we use message control. There are three techniques, but there should be a specific reason on which purpose and what concept we need to use it. So normally standard programs we use to generate the IDocs for the master data. If it is a master data, we are going to use a standard program, standard outbound program. And change pointers, So let's take an example of I have created one material. The material information immediately goes to the target system. After some time, I did a change to the material master. I can change the material master by using MM02. Even the changed data also should be go to the target system. So let's take today I have created material, and tomorrow I changed the material. Even the changed record also should go to the target system. So that point of time we are going to use an change pointers. So we use change pointers when there is a data change in the master record only, so master data only, not for the transactional data. We don't use the transactional data change pointers. Change pointers also used for the master data purpose only. But if there is a data change, we are going to use a change pointers. And master control, message control is used for the transactional data. So let's give me one of the examples for the transaction. So it is used to trigger the IDoc for the transactional data. So give me one example for the transactional data. Debit, credit, order, purchase order, sales order, invoice, delivery, shipping. So all these are into the transactional data. If there is a requirement to trigger an IDoc for the invoice, so we use standard programs or change pointers or message control. What technique we use? If there is a requirement of to trigger an IDoc for the invoice, so which technique you will use? Message control, because invoice is in a transactional data. So if there is a requirement to transfer the IDoc for the customer master, which technique you use? Standard programs. If there is an XD02, which technique you use? Change pointers. That's the funda case. Simple. So the master data we use standard programs and change pointers. If it is in a create, we use standard program. If it is in a change, we use the change pointers. And if it is in a transactional data, sales order, purchase order, delivery, invoice, debit, credit, that kind of things, we are going to use in a message control. This is very, very important, very tricky concept, this message control. And even we use, already that in the smart forms we have used the message types. To trigger in a smart form, we have used the name output type, right? The same concept we are going to use to trigger the IDocs as well. Even the same concept we use to trigger the workflows as well is very, very important. The NACE transaction, which I have shown, the transaction is very, very important to automating your business processes. To trigger smart forms and to trigger IDoc, to trigger workflows, we use the same output concept, the condition records and all. That also we are going to see in this IDoc concept. So these are some of the examples. And now we are going to, so I have given some of the theory about the ALE and IDocs. And next we are going to see, so there are some steps, guys. So suppose, so the requirements in terms of the IDoc, there are two types of requirements, guys. Okay, one is outbound IDoc and another one is the inbound IDoc. Suppose if you want to send the data from your SAP system, so the concept which we call is an outbound IDoc. Suppose if you receive the data from some other system to your SAP system, that we call it an inbound IDoc. So there are different steps to configure the outbound IDocs, and that there is a different steps to configure the inbound IDocs. So what are the steps to trigger an outbound IDocs? What are the steps to receive an IDoc in the inbound system? So first we'll go with the outbound IDoc steps. Outbound IDoc steps. So what are the steps which we need to do whenever you do an outbound IDoc? So the first step is we must have RFC destination first. Right? First, if you want to trigger integrate any system, so the first step is you must have an RFC destination. Okay. If it is there, use the same RFC destination. If it is not there, we must create the RFC destination in the SM59. The second step is identify the message type for the business application. Okay. If it is custom, what you need to do? If it is custom, we have to create a message type. If it is in a standard, if it is in a material master, no problem. There is a standard message type. We have to choose that message type. That means we need to identify the message type. Otherwise, what you need to do? You have to create your own custom message type. What is the transaction code for this? So just now we have discussed WE80. Done. Next, find the IDoc type for the message type. What is the transaction code to find the IDoc type for the message type? WE80. But if it is custom application, what we need to do? We have to create the IDoc type first. Where do we create the IDoc type? In the WE30. But if you want to create an IDoc type, to create IDoc type, what we need? We must have segments, right? And create the segments in WE31 days. This is important. So I'm giving both the flow, both the steps in a single case. So if it is in a standard, you need to find out. If it is not in a standard, you have to create an IDoc type. So to create an IDoc type, you need to create a segment. To create a segment, we use the transaction WE31 days. Then after that, link message type. If it is custom, link message type to IDoc type. The transaction code is WE80. Okay. After this, then we need to have a maintain port base. So you need to port the data. Maintain the port. The transaction code is WE21 based on RFC destination. Based on the RFC destination, you need to create a port base. So same port means where do you ship it? That's in a port base. So let's take an example of, so just imagine you are shipping. So see, I'm going to do a data transfer from one location to the another location, and this IDoc is going to, suppose I am sending in a material master. Okay, so the material master data, it is going to port on the target system. So somewhere it is going to place that data. So the location we call it in a port base. So we have to generate in a port based on the RFC destination. Why? Because here to this link is an RFC. Based on the RFC, we create a port. So what is the downloading point? That's in a port base. Simple. So this is my lorry. The lorry is taking the goods from some source location to the target location. So what I will do is I will tell to the lorry owner, I will give an address. No, the address is nothing but it's the RFC destination. Okay, it is going to place the goods on that particular address. So the address here I can say it's a port base. So port, we need to create a port, and we need to create a port base. So after you create the port and maintain the partner profiles, maintain the partner. It's a transaction code is WE20. WE. So maybe we talk about what is port, what is partner profile. So these are the steps, but before coming to the steps, so what exactly the port and what exactly the partner profile? And we'll go to here, port. It is the destination and target place. Destination. It is the target area to place the IDoc data. That's the port. The transaction code is okay WE21. Next one is partner profile. It is used to maintain the partner information, and also it is used to provide the what kind of data we sending, what kind of data we sending to the system, what kind of IDoc, not the data, IDoc data we sending to the system, and the IDoc triggering technique, and also sending the system and the IDoc triggering technique. This also we can provide. And partner profile will process the IDoc data by using process code base, and also it is used to process the database. So how do you process the data to the IDoc? By using process code concept. So there is a process code which we are going to assign to the partner profile. So little heavy dose this concept. Okay. So the partner profile is used to maintain the partner information, one thing, and also the second thing is what kind of data you are going to transfer. That is also we are going to provide. And apart from this, how do you process the data? So what is the code? What is the code which is behind to pass the data to the IDoc? The code will be written in the process code level base. The process code which will process the data. Okay, the partner profile will process the IDoc data by using process code technique. Okay, so this is a partner profile. The transaction code is WE20. Very important this transaction. And also interview also definitely they will ask the question, what is the partner profile? Do a by heart of this statement and tell the same statement is okay. So the transaction code is the WE20 and process code. So I talked about process code as well, right? So what is process code? And process code will process the data to IDoc or from the IDoc by using function module. Guys, here also in IDocs also function modules are very important guys everywhere. So we assign a function module to the process code. So whenever the partner profile is triggered, the partner profile we have a process code. In the process code we have a function module. That function module will be triggered. So whatever the code you have written, so that code will process the data to the IDoc. If it is an outbound, the function module will generate an IDoc. If it is an inbound, we receive an IDoc. The data can be read from the IDoc and will post the data into the application. So it will process the data to IDoc or from the IDoc. From the IDoc we process it and we are going to post into the application. What is exactly to the IDoc and from IDoc? Simple. So here my process code. Okay, I assign a function module. So here we should generate an IDoc base. So we need to pass the data to the IDoc. That means I read the data from database tables and the data I will pass it to the IDoc. So to the IDoc, I can process the data by using process code. And also if you go to the inbound side, I will receive an IDoc. So that means simple guys. I have a lorry. Simple. Lorry is an IDoc. So first what you need to do if you want to carry the goods, you have to download the data. You have to upload the data, upload the goods into the lorry. Here also same. The process code will fetch the data from database and it will upload the data into IDoc. So that means process the data to the IDoc. So process the goods to the lorry, upload the goods to the lorry. Second thing is, so the lorry comes to the destination on the port. Port is in a destination. So what you need to do here, you need to download the data. You need to download the goods. That means whatever the data you have in the IDoc, you need to download. You need to pass the data from IDoc to the target. Target means same. We are going to post the data to the database table space. We post the data to the database table. That means downloading the goods from the lorry and downloading the data from IDoc. So both the cases, if you want to process the data to IDoc or if you want to read the data from IDoc, we are going to use a process code. So the process code contains the function modules case. The process code contains the function modules. That's a process code base. But in process code, there are two types of process code. So now tell me what is the two types of process code. One is the outbound process code. Because if you send the IDoc, that is an outbound process code. And if you receive the IDoc downloading, it's an inbound process. So two types of process code we will be having. So if you want to upload the data into IDoc, if you want to process the data to the IDoc, so the transaction code is WE41 and this is WE42. Everything is in a transaction. But what I told, so here we are going to assign the function modules. To the process code, we assign the function. Assign the outbound function module. Here we assign the inbound. We assign the inbound function. Simple. So, so that is a partner profile. Maintain the partner profile. Okay. Then, guys, I can distribute the data not only a single system. But also I can in single call. I can distribute to the multiple systems also. So this is a system 1, SAP system 1. This is my SAP system 2. That means my source is 1. I can transfer this data to the here, and also I can transfer the data to the another system as well. Both the systems I can do it. So I can transfer the data to here, and also I can transfer the data to the here as well. So I can distribute the database. Suppose if you want to distribute the data in SAP, and suppose if you have multiple systems, the data to be distributed, we have a maintain distribution model. maintain the distribution model. So the transaction code is BD64 is the transaction to maintain the distribution model. And we'll talk about this later. The next step is after you maintain the distribution model and trigger IDoc by using any of the three techniques, and trigger an IDoc base. We have three techniques. Based on the three techniques, we are going to use we are going to trigger an IDoc. So after you trigger an IDoc, check status of the IDoc. Check status of the IDoc. The transaction code is WE02 or WE05. Very, very important. So after you trigger IDoc, so what is the status? Whether IDoc is failed, or whether the IDoc is started, or whether the IDoc is already reached to the target application. Because there are different kind of status we have. So that status you can check the IDoc in a WE02 or WE05 case. So this is all about the theory behind the ALE and IDocs. Tomorrow we are going to see in a practicals. So what is IDoc and how do you trigger the IDocs? Okay, and we are going to trigger the IDocs for the standard IDocs, and also we add some custom fields. We trigger the IDocs, and also the total custom IDocs how to build. So the three techniques we are going to see, and also we are going to see the change pointers, how to trigger an IDoc to change, and also we are going to trigger the IDocs for the transactional applications like sales order and invoice delivery, how to trigger the IDocs. That also we are going to see. So that's the concept of the IDoc page. So that's it for the day. So today only theory. You need to read the theory. Okay. So that's important, guys. Without reading theory, tomorrow you don't understand anything. Okay. You must read this theory. Okay. That's it. I have a meeting at 11:30. So. So this IDoc concept is very interesting. Okay.